Hello and a very warm welcome to Money Control. India just concluded its G20 presidency and it reset the template for how countries have held G20 presidencies so far. It became the voice of the global south. For the first time, it was the agenda of the developing countries that made center stage. To understand the implications of this presidency on India, India's new position in the new global order, I'm joined by one of India's most erudite ministers, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas and Urban Development. Many thanks, Mr. Puri, for joining us, and many congratulations for hosting the leaders of the world in India and conducting it so beautifully. Well, India made this people's presidency. There were 200 meetings across 60 locations. I want you, Mr. Puri, to wear your diplomat's hat this time around. I want to ask you, what did India do differently this time from a negotiation perspective?
You've covered so much ground in your question that I'm going to break it down into smaller parts. Let me start by saying that the fact that the presidency, India's presidency, was a resounding success is a given. I say this because how do you make an assessment of any event that you conduct? You make an assessment not only based on the cultural extravaganza, that you conducted meetings in 60 cities, over 200 meetings, but you also make an assessment based on how the product was conceived, executed and delivered.
Right.
And I'm using marketing technology here. That 83-page declaration that emerged from the G20 Leaders Summit and the Leaders Declaration, the first starting point should be it was a slap on the face of those who said, ye to kabhi agreement hoga nahi. There is no way people will find agreed language.
Correct.
And there are widespread differences. I mean, these are people who forgot that the G20 is an economic platform. Ideally speaking, there should be no room for political differences in an economic platform. But making allowance for the fact that political events do have an important bearing, they cast a shadow on our economic well-being.
Right.
Obviously, there was that. But I think the real resounding success was, and if you take it as a given, we live in a deeply divided world.
Yeah.
And the Honorable Prime Minister, by the sheer weight of his personal chemistry with world leaders, the inspirational conduct, the instructions he gave to his team, you know, his Minister for External Affairs, the Sherpa,
Yes.
the diplomats, you pulled off an 83-paragraph declaration which has no
100% consensus.
Footnotes,
Yeah.
no interpretative notes, no, whining later. So the declaration has been welcomed by the Chinese, it has been welcomed by the Africans, it has been welcomed by the President of Argentina, Brazil, UK. So I can go on naming people.
Right.
And I'll tell you, my sense is that I still have to see, other than one or two of our domestic political so-called eminent people, I haven't heard any negative comment on it, number one. Number two, the content of those paragraphs add value and take forward the multilateral and plurilateral negotiation in each of these areas.
Absolutely.
If you look at climate finance, if you look at what has to be done for multilateral development banks, all that work will have to be done.
Right.
But it raises the aspirational level. Number three, you look at gender. I mean that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff there on gender.
Very, very
And I was analyzing it. My God.
Yeah.
My God. You're taking it all much forward. Now, one of the areas, new one, I haven't followed the gender debate as much as my better half has. Look at the digital language, you know, to bridge the digital gaps in order to bring in women's empowerment.
Right.
You talk about issues that I deal with in the context of my housing this thing. I think the Urban 20 declaration which we got, I think in Ahmedabad, it's a landmark. It's a landmark where you are using your stick. I must, if you forgive me, have a slight nuance I want to introduce.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the global south which has come of age. Global south is very much part of it. Your success in bringing the African Union in, their representation, is a very major thing. But I would say that the world at large, today the multilateral system anchored in the UN, you can actually get into a discussion whether it's fit for purpose.
Yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, there are people, including the UN Secretary General, who will turn around and say the international organization no. But more than that, the Security Council, which is the premier agency designated to make a determination whether there is a threat to international peace and security, and then authorize countermeasures. Look around the world where conflicts are taking. Has anyone gone to the Security Council and sought permission? Security Council is paralyzed.
Right.
So when the Security Council is paralyzed, the other multilateral institutions open themselves up for questioning whether they are fit for purpose. Here you have a G20, which has delivered such a positive, electrifying message.
Right.
You know, when the G20 was formed, I must tell you, I was very much part of the people at the civil service level. I was the secretary to the government. A lot of people said, yeah, G20 ban gaya, you know, this is a violation of the MFN principle. Some countries will go and become a select club, an elite club. How is this good? Today I asked them this is a counter question. By aapka jo multilateral system anchored in the UN, you are having a discussion whether it's fit for purpose. Okay?
Yeah.
Security Council plan. Now, doesn't this give you an impetus? By the way, I was Secretary General of an independent commission on multilateralism, which had Prime Minister Rudd of Australia as the chair, and I was the Secretary General. It was set up in the UN context on the occasion of its anniversary, I think the 75th anniversary, to see whether the world multilateral institutions are fit for purpose.
Right.
We came up with a brilliant report. Listen, that was 2016-17.
Yes.
उसके बाद ये 5-6 साल हो गए हैं.
Absolutely.
And those problems, those fault lines have actually got accentuated.
And I think
So
the pandemic
today you're in a
will-
situation, you get a fantastic G20 declaration. It provides impetus to the multilateral system. It provides impetus to other. And by the way, I think Lakshmi called it in one of our articles, Economic Security Council. But if the Security Council there which deals with threats to peace and security is paralyzed, and you have a G20, it helps. Look, you have Biden, Presidents Biden, Lula, the African Union, you have Singapore, you have Bangladesh. All these people gathered for a day and a half or 2 days.
Right.
You know, apart from the sheer political messaging, the hardcore declaration.
Absolutely. Do you think China staying away actually did
No, they welcomed it.
did they do a favor to India?
You know, I don't want to get into that. Frankly, China was represented here.
That's right.
The Prime Minister was here.
Yeah.
Chinese Sherpa, the diplomats, they participated in full this thing.
Okay.
So I think those are the point which some of our detractors would have wanted to play up, and they would have played it up, by the way, if the outcome had not been such a resounding success.
Fair.
Today they're feeling a little sheepish.
Yeah.
Today they're coming back to my Kartavya path thing, you know. They used to say, अरे हरियाली कम हो गई, वो जो जामुन के पेड़ उखाड़ के ले गए. So I had to say नहीं, हरियाली भी 30% बढ़ गई, जामुन के पेड़ वहीं के वहीं हैं, आप उसके नीचे खड़े हो.
I want to talk to you about the Global Biofuels Alliance. What's the impact that you see on India of this alliance, and also will you be talking to other G20 countries to join the alliance?
Well, I think even prior to the Biofuels Alliance, the target we were working is 20% biofuel blending by 2025 instead of 2030. So that's one. Second issue is that whom does it benefit? Well, if I saved 73,000 crores on the import bill in 9 years because of biofuel blending, and we were able to pay our farmers 76,000 crores.
Right.
Okay, number one. I'll give you an example. If we do 1% biofuel blending as a norm for sustainable aviation fuel, madam, we benefit 5 lakh farmers. If we raise that 1% biofuel blending norm and make it 5%, do you know what happens? We benefit another 70 lakh farmers. So, you know, this whole debate about food security is absurd. This is a classic case where by going to the biofuels route, you're actually enhancing your agricultural production. It's the other way around.
Okay, so that's one of the big impact,
Big takeaways.
Big takeaways. Also, the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. We made this alliance that was 2 years in the making. What do you think will it require now for India to build on this opportunity? What are the must-dos that we must work on?
Respectfully, a small nuance. I don't think it's been 2 years since we conceptualized this. There are different variations.
Sure.
What you had on available is an initiative by a large country, which turned out, in the view of many, to be a debt trap. That, in fact, turned out into such a situation that you had a lot of countries which opted for it, took the loans, were not able to repay the loans, and now are having to cede their territory in order to.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there's economic strangulation there. This is a very different thing. Here the countries participating are the countries who can afford to put something on the table. If you have Saudi Arabia, UAE, India from the Asia side, you have Europe, you have France, Italy and Germany, all three European Union, and you have the United States. So you're looking at a similar but more ambitious economic framework of connectivity, which will bring ports together, which will bring shipping lines in touch with each other, which will have seamless road transport, which will have, how do you put it, railway networks, etc. So this is an entirely different ballgame.
So any FTAs that you think we need to prioritize? Any? FTAs, free trade agreements that we need to prioritize?
That's a separate exercise which is going on. That exercise will take place in the normal course. You will have food exports from India going there. You're talking about grid connectivity in terms of power from produced here going through a pipeline to countries which require power, Saudi Arabia and so on. They talk about that. But I think in the coming months you will see a lot of activity in terms of road mapping, conceptualization, etc. But no matter which angle you look at it from Europe downwards, from US looking down to Europe and the Middle East here, it looks like an economic win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. Coming closer home, considering this volatility right now in energy prices, what's a comfortable level of oil, crude that works for India?
You want an honest answer?
Yeah.
I feel happier when it's $50 a barrel.
Okay.
But I'm also a realist. People who produce oil also will need to get a returning. Today, I think the oil prices are too high. I understand why they are high. I will not comment on it through an esteemed television channel. What I would say is that I have long held the view that sometimes rising and high prices can become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay.
If you keep the oil prices very high, there's already enough liquidity in the market because of the stimulation packages, which is highly inflationary. And if we have high oil prices on top of that, that inflationary situation becomes a big R. So this is what happened last time. They went up very much. The world started. So you reach a tipping point when demand will drop. So I am more comfortable when the oil prices are in the range of 80 or 75, 80, 70, 75, 80. We can take it up to that. I think they've crossed that point now. I saw a little drop yesterday, but I think all those who are affecting production cuts will realize as they go along. It's not so easy.
But do you see it impacting pump prices as well? And
I don't know about that. I wouldn't worry too much on that because, how do you typically price energy? You take it at the point of production. Okay, you take the cost of insurance and freight. Then you take the refiner's margin. Then you take the dealer's margin. And then you've got central government taxes, then you've got state government taxes.
Absolutely.
So I think if you have a prime minister of the kind that we have, we are able to navigate it through with everybody taking a bit of this thing. But so far, I think we've held, we ensured availability, we've ensured affordability and sustainability. So we'll be all right.
So any message to the OMCs that you'd like to give through us?
I am very happy with the OMCs. They are good corporate citizens.
No, in terms of pricing, in terms of
No, I would say that they are responsible corporate citizens. They'll do what is right.
How is India working on building its resilience towards this volatility in energy prices? We've relied on Russia in the past, but
our resilience is much more than Russia.
Okay.
Our resilience comes from the dynamism of your marketplace. You have we buy and consume 5 million. We consume 5 million barrels of oil a day. Global growth is about 1%. I think our rate of increase in demand is about 3%. We are simultaneously increasing E&P, exploration and production.
Right.
Our gas production is going up by 18-20% every year for the last 2 years. Our E&P is also going to go up. There's a lot of gestation between the time you make an investment and the oil starts coming out or the gas starts coming out. We are also buying from many more sources. We used to buy from 27 sources, we buy from 39.
Okay.
We are buying $20 billion of energy from the United States. There are new players coming on the world market. Our OMCs will buy from whomever they have to.
Okay.
At the most economical price.
So
that is what gives us a resilience. I mean,
So very dynamic strategy.
It has to be. It has to be. And the fact that other large markets are not in comfortable situation. I mean, one of the large markets is having big problems in terms of exports falling, in terms of domestic debt, so India is on the other hand a growing market, so you can play the market card.
So we saw imports from Russia take a dip in August. Is that a trend that will continue?
Don't look at it, don't be too month specific.
Okay.
Imports from Russia was 0.2% in February of 2022. From there they shot up. Russia became one of the largest suppliers.
Right.
It's still a very large supplier.
Okay.
By the way, I wouldn't be surprised if Russia is still number 1 or 2. But these things will happen. The OMCs do the buying according to what is available in the market. If they can get cheaper oil from, let's say, a country in the Gulf, they'll happily buy from the Gulf. They won't have to go all the way, to the Russian, ports. Equally, if their traders buy and sell oil, I mean, all the time. As I say, the basic point is we'll buy cheapest from wherever we can get it.
Okay.
Of course, depending on the grade of the oil.
Okay. Recently we've announced a 200 rupee reduction in LPG prices. Would that be financed by the government or by the OMCs?
It's a very simple thing. There is some government part and there is some OMC's part. But don't worry, this is something which goes on.
Sure.
In the past, when the OMCs incurred a loss of 28,000 crores, I remember, government gave them 22,000 crores back.
Okay.
But this one is, this is a decision which is being taken politically, and we'll know the economics very soon.
Okay. You spoke about the Bharat Mandapam. Right now there's a controversy going on Twitter, which I'm sure you must have seen, about the cost of G20 preparations, and the opposition is raking that up.
Don't worry, there's no controversy anywhere. I am happily educated, at least, on what these things are all about. When the Parliament and the Central Vista projects were being discussed, somebody said, new Parliament is coming up for 20,000 crores. So I said, 20,000 crores to Sara Central Vista ka mila ke, Vice President's house, new Parliament, Kartavya Path, there's 8 or 9 government buildings. Just now we've said 1,000 crores a year we spend on kiraya because we don't have our own space. मैंने कहा वो 20,000 तो सबका नहीं आएगा टेंडर कॉस्ट, वो अल्टीमेटली घूम फिर के 1,200 करोड़ था. ये let them carry, they have nothing better to do. I read some statement, anyone who revels or rejoices if something goes wrong, or he either produces some controversy. So these are, they should be laughed at, not taken seriously.
Fair enough. My last question. We all feel immensely proud about how the G20 presidency was carried out. In fact, I was talking to a police officer who had been on duty since 4 a.m. and she said, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for me. So I am not tired. And it was 8 p.m. in the night at that time. So I think it resonated what a lot of Indians are feeling. Having said that, while the world is looking at us and appreciating the presidency, we've heard political voices from within the country that have tried to, I would say, they've tried to color the presidency, they've tried to pull it down. How do you feel about it?
I felt so proud when I met the young Foreign Service officers who were involved in the drafting. And I told them, look, I've got a 50-year experience.
Yeah.
I can't think of too many occasions. There have been other occasions. Too many occasions where we could get out with a sense of pride, a feeling in our hearts that something such a, professionally professional accomplishment. I think not only the young police officer, I find, the people I interact with, they're also thrilled. Now, you must also realize that the politician, whoever these people are, members of one family or otherwise, they ply their trade in a competitive environment, and they find that the ground is slipping from under their feet. So their propensity to talk nonsense increases there. But nobody takes them seriously. Not the people, and I think you'll find that out increasingly.
Okay.
Even their Congress politicians are praising it. Dr. Manmohan Singh praised it.
Yes.
Shashi Tharoor praised it.
Yes.
Little uncharacteristic, but I think, they're ultimately Indians after all. Not I full stop N full stop D, but
Sure.
they believe in Bharat Mata as well.
Absolutely. Last question for this series that we have called MC Bullish. What is making you bullish about India?
I've been bullish about India since I was born. No, let's be clear.
Yeah.
I joined the Foreign Service in 1974. I served for 39 years. I did 6 years after that in the international space, think tanking in New York and so on. I've been a minister for 6 years. India, no matter which way you look at it, as a citizen of India, as somebody who's representing India, as somebody who's an economic operator, it's the place to be in. The buzz, look, you're still very young, but look back at past history. We've gone from a 27% contribution to global GDP in the year 1700. Then we had 190 years of colonialism after 1757. And our contribution to global GDP came from 27%, hurtling down to single digit. Now we are again rising from the 10th largest economy in 2014 to the 5th largest now, and everybody is saying you'll be the top 3 economies in the next year or 2. So what are we discussing? And then by the time you're reaching Amrit Kal or way before that, you'll be a $26 trillion economy. You'll be what the United States is today. So doesn't that make you, by the way, you're talking about bullish, that's a term used on the stock market. Do you know where the Sensex and Nifty is today?
Yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah.
So you're not just reached the moon. You're all over the moon. Your Sensex and Nifty is doing well. Your G20 has been a roaring success. And your lunar mission is in good trajectory. So
Right.
I think if you can't feel good about this, then I would have another comment to make, which I will refrain from making.
All right. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
We wish you the very best.
Thank you.